Well, hello gang, this is Jim, KC9VKV. Well, as some of you may or may not know, there was unfortunately some trouble with the 1524 Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog air check recording. So in lieu of that, it gives me a chance to review some cuts from my KC9VKV highlights department. So for now, enjoy and wish us better luck next Friday. Well, we continue with our journey through time and space during our KC9VKV highlights review. This is a classic Qso about a lost art, the lost art of building rhombic antennas. I'd only been in ham radio for about 6 months when I happened to run across Roger, W1VDE. I immediately formed a picture of him in my mind. He was the old man in the mountain in Oregon. Sage, he was a been-there, done-that kind of guy, and I was just about to learn everything he knew about rhombic antennas. Before I met Roger, all I knew about rhombic antennas was that they took up a lot of room, like acres, and that they were made of wire and hung on towers or telephone poles, and that they were used during World War II as point-to-point targeting antennas. That is, you could be on one continent and specifically target your transmission to another specific continent, and you could hit that target day after day. The other thing about Roger was the way that he referred to geographic locations by way of the 7 seas, like a ship's captain might speak. And all around the Horn of Madagascar, mateys kind of thing. Roger definitely knew his stuff, and he was taking the time to explain it to me. He was sharing his secrets of the lost art of rhombic antennas, and not just that, but then he gave me a demonstration of just how directional his rhombic antenna array was. 1 minute he was giving me 40 over. The next minute he disappeared from my location and was burning holes in the desert sands of the Sahara. And all it took was just a few acres of land. Yeah, right. And I don't even have a corner lot. Well, I guess Roger had me dreaming. The old man in the mountain had me chasing fool's gold for a minute. I flipped over to my 10-meter full-wave loop antenna, and Roger came up 10 dB, and I was happy with what I had. But thanks to Roger, the next time I have an extra 5 acres to play with, I'll think about rhombic antennas and this Qso.
That's called configuration. That's when you start bending wire. Why? Because you want to confuse them and get them all to go in the same direction. Haven't tried a zigzag rhombic yet, but don't you think I ain't thinking of it. So KC9VKV, W1 Victor Delta Echo, Oregon. Still making mistakes.
Yeah, Roger. I was just curious now, that Virginia Beach target that you're referring to, that's your easterly antenna direction. Do you have anything further south as the central lobe as you do for Virginia?
Oh, this thing's pretty wide after you get out at 5K. Yeah, that's only let me see, 2,900 nautical miles out to Virginia Beach is. But that's a general direction. Into South America, this thing will literally tear a hole. Further out you go, the wider it gets, you know. You can't stop it. You can. You got to make the antenna longer. You got to make the antenna. I cover the Caribbean and all of the south of Bermuda. Let's put it that way. South of Bermuda, which is 750 miles off of Virginia. It just covers the whole South Atlantic. South of Bermuda. It'll just tear a hole. It will actually cause ionization. They work different, and it's all done by the antenna, by the field that it presents. It's called volumetric efficiency. How many electrons, how much volume can you put a little bit of charge on, and then the electron moves, no matter what the charge is, it starts looking for other negative electrons. And boy, it takes off at the speed of light, all right?
Roger that, roger that. Did you ever happen to consider co-phasing some of those rhombics? So you have cancellation in some areas, and then but that signal would be applied in phase in other areas.
Well, I've had them stacked. I've had them, but they're smaller. They were smaller at that time. I found out, and this is going to, you still have the same volume. You get steerability, but you don't move any more volume. Yeah, let's say they were smaller. I got to tell you that. Originally, I had them about 450 feet long, total length now. 450 long. I had them three of them stacked one above the other. Okay, I had steerage, and I had control. But if you make the antenna longer, and that's exactly what I did. I took down the top one, and I had a drug problem. I drugged that antenna, the top one, way out in front of the front one, opened it up, made the front V out of it, and I took the V out of it, made that where I joined them together, I made that the widest point. You get more wallop out of lengthening the antenna than you do by stacking them. Now, if I wanted to, I can gain 3 dB real quick by stacking what I have now. But this linear, if I go down to 4 degrees, I'm going to start kicking dust out. I start heating the ground. There's an angle that if you go below it, it's called the Swato-Brewster angle, is the name of it. It no longer radiates. It heats the ground. It drags its feet over the ground. And all of the electricity that we make and use we're not making anything. The sun does heat the earth, but all of the energy that we do use, our excess heat, is all absorbed by the ground. And just as all the sunlight comes in, hits the earth, it's all absorbed by the ground. Not all of it. That's why we get sunburn. But energy in any form is absorbed by the earth. It raises the temperature of the earth. Therein lies some of our problems. Never mind hot air,
Yeah, Roger. Well, I tell you, whatever you're doing out there, you may be running a scorched earth policy or whatever it is, but you're sure moving some audio through the air. Like I say, you're about 20 and 30 over here, so it's definitely doing well. I was just curious, how many directional positions can you control?
I have 6 big rhombics on the 7 C's. There's one of them, 7 C's, and I try to. I got one here. I'll bring them up. This one's looking at South Africa, the South Atlantic. This one's looking at the exact same area, but over the Pacific and Indian Ocean, looking at Kerguelen Island. This one right here is looking at Europe. And then I gotta punch a button. And I gotta bring up 3 more rhombics. But it takes a minute, and I'll tell you what I did. I used out in the antenna shed where I feed from. I use step relay. Remember the old telephone? Maybe you don't. The old telephone relays, when you dial the number, click, 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 it was telling, it was making a little jagged thing move a relay, click, 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 and it would bring up different switches. Well, I put that on the end of a capacitor in a D network, and that tunes the antenna SWR down. Takes about a minute for that thing to cycle, and I'll tell you why. Doesn't back up. The ratchet only is one way, so I have to go. The capacitor has to go through 180 degrees all the way around. So I avoid that unless I tune up that bank of antennas. And I'm cautious about. I can bring it up, but it's and it looks in 6 different directions. So a total is 6 rhombics. But like I said, takes a minute and a half. Sometimes depending on the temperature outside. You would not think a relay would have doesn't have a heart or anything. Apparently these have heart, the old American Telephone and Telegraph Company, because has lazy days when, well, I may work and I may not, and probably accounts for the reason you used to get a lot of wrong numbers, but you still had to pay when the guy said hello over it.
Hey, roger that. Okay, I'm going to wait with you here while that seeks its recalibration points so you can give me those other antenna positions. It was outstanding, the first leg of this. I'm standing by for the second demonstration, Roger.
Oh, I didn't even bother firing that. I just gave you 3 of them. This one, let me look and see if I'm on the right one. Yeah, what I'm doing is I got a rotary switch up here by hand. I can just switch and make it kick on. I can make it kick on. The other ones I'll have to wait. I'll have to wait here myself, and I haven't kicked them probably for 3-4 months, so I'm a little cautious on it. There's a guy out here by the name of Murphy. I don't know. I run him off once with a shotgun here about 10 years ago, and I managed to keep him out of the yard. He may be sleeping in that antenna shed again. So I'm going to hold off on bringing up the other 3 here, but I can here. Wait a minute. Hello, 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 1. Let me see. Oh, hello. Okay, I don't know. This one may or may not be looking up at you. This one here looks at Tahiti. This one right now. All of a sudden, somebody down in the South Pacific. You're off the back of it. Did it come up any, or?
It's down from your main transmission.
Okay, well, you're way up on it, so I'm going over you. I'm going up over you. You're in the back here. Let me go back around here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello. Doggone, I have to wait. There's a bridge out there that's controlling it. It's tuning. It's tuning right now. I'm watching the SWR, and if it goes by, it'll go 180 cycles. Oh, it has to 180 degrees. It's got to go all the way around again. It's got to go another 180 degrees if it misses it, because it can't back up. I've got to. What I should do is put a on the other end of the capacitor, extend the shaft, and then put one on that will whack over a couple of diodes and then make it run the other way so it could neutralize itself. But usually, if it goes down to 1.2 or so, it'll stop. So 1.2 at 200 ohms input is not really much of a mismatch. And they pretty well, with the tapered line that's feeding it, with the tapered exponential line that's feeding it, it pretty well takes care of it, because each quarter wave, and there's 14 of them, does On this frequency, there's actually more than 14. There's about 18 quarter wavelengths. 96 inches long, roughly, so it's 92 feet, 98 feet, 5.5 inches long. And that's a minimum of 4 wavelengths at 10 megacycles. You always got to have a minimum of 4 quarter waves to get these things to work as an exponential feed line, which essentially takes you from 200 ohms to 600. So that's what it does, Jim. That's what you're listening to. And that's exactly, it's the old point-to-point system, except I don't run down to the ground and then parallel the ground. I run right from a pole right up askew at a slant, about 45 degrees up, 75 feet above the ground is where these are supported. The top upper end's about 7 inches wide, number 12 wire, and it comes right down till it's only about 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch wide, which is 200 ohms input. So, and right on the end of that is 2 air balance that take me from the coax feed line impedance going into the antenna shed, where the relays are that snap over to each one of those homemade air balance. 2 coils wound parallel together in parallel on the input end, 14 turns, 1.5 in diameter, number 12 or 14 wire. The differential is not that significant. And in series on the output end. 50 ohms in, unbalanced, 200 ohms out into the balance. And I haven't chased the spiders out of the antenna yet either. So it's the middle of the winter. They're not going to appreciate me going in there with a flashlight or even a match lit over it.
Roger. KC9VKV with W1VDE. Roger, I've got a recording of you when you went through the antenna switching. I think if you would like to hear it, I could find it and play it back for you. It's quite outstanding.
Oh, all right. Well, as long as you didn't touch the volume control, because what happens, I've got to tell you, so you'll understand that the stronger I am, the AGC comes in and it cuts the RF amplifier off. You have to be able to switch your RF amplifier out of the circuit to see the drasticness of it. Just how drastic it is, because what happens is when it's hammering the front end, it will cut the AGC cuts the RF amplifier out. When I go weak, the RF amplifier in the front of the receiver opens up. It's no longer super saturated.